The Sharks make a plethora of moves, including bringing back playoff hero Barkley Goodrow. Was it the right idea?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also co-host of the Western Conference Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, even when they make weird moves like bringing back Barkley Goodrow. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today, Barclay Goodrow returns. The Sharks trade for Ty Dellandrea, and Cam Atkinson says no thanks to San Jose. So we're going to dig into all the news surrounding the Sharks, as it was a very busy day in San Jose. But before we do all that, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So we're going to start with the big news with the Sharks bringing back Barkley Goodrow. And I'm just going to start out and say I hate this move. I hate this move. It's bad process. You, one, help out a rival team in the New York Rangers without getting anything back. And two, it feels really shady on Barclay Goodrow's part. So Goodrow had a 15-team no-trade clause. The Sharks are reportedly on the no-trade clause, which is part of his rights when he signed his 6-year deal with the Rangers 3 years ago. The Sharks, of course, since they were the worst team in the NHL last year, have the number one priority when it comes to waiver claims, and the Rangers put Barclay Goodrow on waivers, with the Sharks claiming him. This means the Sharks take on the rest of Barclay Goodrow's cap at 3 years at $3.64 million. And the Rangers get out of the contract scot-free. What do we do? I do not get this move from the Sharks' perspective because, as we're going to dig into it here in a second, Barclay Goodrow is just not that great anymore. And you're helping out. Maybe there's another deal coming down the line and the Rangers owe the Sharks something here for helping them out of this jam. But you already have a player just like Barclay Goodrow in Luke Kunin, and you just traded for another one 20 minutes before this happened. I'm perplexed by this, and I know people are going to say, well, the cap floor, he's a winner, he's won 2 cups, he's going to help the young guys play and all that stuff. Nothing about that is his hockey skills. This team needs to add skill to its roster. The best way to help the young players is by putting more skilled players around them. The only time Celebrini and Barkley Goodrow should be sharing the ice is when Goodrow's coming off for his 4th line shift and Celebrini's coming on for his 1st line shift. That's the only time they should be sharing the ice. They should never be on the ice at the same time playing actual hockey because you guys got angry at Luke Kunin last year playing with William Macklin. Imagine Goodrow out there. Goodrow's the same player except for 5 years older and gets paid way more money. I don't get this. If you have to go to, if the first thing you say what type of player is Barkley Goodrow, he's a leader, he's all that stuff, I don't care. How is that going to help this team win? This team just needs good players, and I'm sorry, Barkley Goodrow is just not a good player anymore. I'm going to pull up all the stats here in the analytics. He's good on the PK. I'll give him that. Other than that, he gets caved in at 5-on-5. And I know a lot of people are super happy to have Barkley Goodrow back because Game 7 heroics. you're going to be super pissed in November when Barkley Goodrow is getting caved in with Luke Kunin, because that's what happens when they're on the ice. The other team dominates the time of possession. This move makes no sense to me. And yes, you get up a little bit closer to the cap floor. I would rather overspend in free agency on an actual skilled player. I would rather be like, hey, wow, we spent a lot of money on player X, Y, or Z to get them to come to San Jose, but they're going to help the Sharks be better because they're skilled players. Like you have a ton of these type of guys in Barkley Goodrow on the team already. And Luke Kunin, the guy you just traded for, we'll talk about here in a little bit, Ty Dellandrea, excuse me. Jan Ruda, who's won 2 cups. Nico Sturm, who's won a cup. Like, you have plenty of veteran guys. And yes, I want to get veteran guys who can help Celebrini and Will Smith on the ice. Goodrow should not be on the ice at the same time as these guys. Pulling up Goodrow's stats here. So he has 3 years left on his deal at $3.6 million AAV from the Rangers. He had 4 goals and 8 assists in 80 games last season with the Rangers, 61 shots, averaged 12.34 time on ice, Corsi 4. So the shot attempts when he was on the ice on the Rangers, who were the best team in the NHL last year, won the President's Cup, 39.5%. So basically 60% of the time when Barkley Goodrow was 60% of the shots that were taken when Barkley Goodrow was on the ice was by the team. Goals for 36.84. So 64% of the time that a goal was scored when Barkley Goodrow was on the ice. And again, he's only on the ice for 12 and a half minutes a game, is by the other team. 6%, so playing basically third line minutes, 6th percentile player, 4th percentile in offense, 44th percentile in defense. He's good on the PK. Very good on that. He'll help the Sharks PK out. Cool. Terrible when it comes to just generating offense or passing the puck or creating offensive type other than creating offensive rebounds. Do not ask him to carry the puck into the zone. Solid forechecker, like when it comes to like creating forechecks. When Barkley Goodrow was on the ice, the like expected goals for per 60 was like by the Rangers was below. Like he's just not a good player anymore. And if you were getting Barkley Goodrow and getting something out of it, whether it's, some sort of sweetener, an asset, something, fine. I would be fine with that. But like Barkley Goodrow is just like all the numbers, all the analytics say he's a 4th line. He's a replacement level player who's getting paid almost $4 million a season. And yes, the vibes, cool, man. You're bringing back a playoff hero. But Barkley Goodrow, he played with Jimmy Vesey and Tyler Pitlick and again, those guys are fine, whatever, but like they didn't get much. They got tough draws. They didn't get much offensive zone time, but they didn't do anything with the opportunities that they had. And I, for one, feel like this move, again, you have so many players of this ilk, whether it's Luke Kunin, Nico Sturm, right, Giovanni Smith. You have a bunch of players like this on your roster already, and these guys aren't helping your young players. I'm sure, and we don't even know he doesn't even want to be here. That's the thing. He's mad about how this whole thing went down. Those reports said he is mad at the Rangers at the way this went down. And I do not blame him for being mad. So you have a guy who doesn't want to be here, who doesn't provide much on the ice. And 100% Barkley Goodrow is I expect him to be a good soldier. He's going to do what he's asked. But like, I just do not get this. This move is such a head scratcher where you're helping another team out by taking on this contract for a player that you could find replacement level value. You could find for much cheaper. And you literally did. I love the trade that the Ty Dellandrea trade that we'll get to here in a minute, but I do not get this. He does not provide the only on ice value he provides is he's a good penalty killer. Yes, I know he scored 4, 6 goals, whatever he scored in the playoffs. He was shooting 40%. If you want to think that 40% is a sustainable like model, cool. And if you want to think maybe more ice time is going to help him out, good luck to you, because I just do not see what Barkley Goodrow is going to add on the ice to this team, on a team that needs skilled players, and to best way to help their young core, soon to be core of skilled players, is by having other skilled players around them. It boggles the mind that they just did this without getting something. And maybe there's something else coming down the road, but where we stand right now with this, I'm flabbergasted that they did this deal, that they took on this contract for a player who his best days are behind him. And again, the Sharks traded him. They traded him. You could have just kept him if you wanted to. You traded him a few seasons ago. And good for Barkley Goodrow to go win a couple cups and was a key piece on the bottom line of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And good for him to get this 6-year deal from the Rangers, which everyone thought was ridiculous at the time. Good for him to get that. Goodrow seems like a great guy. I do not see his on ice value for the Sharks. So we'll talk about somebody who I think will provide some on ice value in Ty Dellandrea here in just 1 minute. It's summertime, which means baseball season. If you want to go grab some tickets, maybe you want to go catch the A's game, maybe you want to catch a Giants game, or whatever your local baseball team is, you need to check out GameTime. GameTime is the authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. They have killer last minute deals, all in prices views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I love the all-in pricing. That way you know exactly what you're going to pay. Nothing worse than going to checkout and all of a sudden you get a bunch of fees slammed on top of that. So you thought, I was only going to spend this much, and all of a sudden you're spending like double it. You don't have to worry about that with GameTime. Couple clicks, boom, you got tickets straight to your phone. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. Sharks also, about 20 minutes before the Goodrow claim news came in, traded for Ty Dellandrea of the Dallas Stars. So I actually really like this move. 4th round pick that was in 2025 that originally belonged to Winnipeg. And getting Ty Dellandrea, who's 23, will be 24 next month, is an RFA. We'll get into his stats here really quick. 6 foot, 195 pounds. Again, like I said, RFA, qualifying offer of $945,000. So you're looking at basically $1 million to keep him around. 42 games last year, had 2 goals, 7 assists with 23 shots on goal. 1240 average time on ice, 52.17 Corsi for goals for 40%. Looking at his evolving hockey, basically playing kind of third line minutes as well. 18th percentile player, 16th percentile offensively, 52 percentile defensively. Right-handed shot, former first-round pick. Also, looking at all his zone stuff, much like Barkley Goodrow, not the prettiest of zone stuff here. Does do a good job of creating rebounds in his offense, kind of rebounds per 60. Not too bad in some of the defensive zone retrieval stuff, but not the most offensive guy here. And then projected WAR, 12%, even strength defense, 82nd percentile, kind of over the past 3 seasons. Not the greatest scoring guy, 7th percentile finishing, but Dellandrea, though, I think is one of these guys, kind of as we've seen, where the Sharks taking chances on guys with high pedigree, right? Former first round pick in the 2018 draft, where he was 13th overall, and has not lived up to the billing, of course. But right, like taking an opportunity on a guy who looks to be a kind of your next Luke Kunin type of player, where willing to play good defense, provide in that area, has a little bit of grit and sandpaper to him if that's your thing. But again, he's cheap, right? And I know money right now for the Sharks isn't really, something you have to worry about, but it makes me wonder, kind of this move with the Barkley Goodrow move, do the Sharks look to trade Luke Kunin, who's kind of in the same vein, right? Good guy in the locker room, defensively responsible, thought to be defensively responsible, plays PK, kind of whatever you need to him. You saw last year, right? Definitely played way higher up in the lineup. I think is more suited for like a really high energy third line type of guy, or a fourth line role. But he's going to cost probably $3 million at qualifying offer, right? Or if the Sharks want to sign him to a long term, do the Sharks look to move Luke Kunin for a potential asset here, especially since you just traded for Ty Dellandrea and you just added Barkley Goodrow? It seems like a lot of the same type of dudes, if you're asking me. So I'm just curious to see kind of what happens here with these guys, because they all have a little bit of the same profile, between Dellandrea, who I think has a little bit maybe more upside than Goodrow, and Kunin, just because he's younger, right? Maybe he finds a little bit that offensive gear. But he traded a 4th round pick, which I know some people are like, why'd you give up a 4th round pick? You could have, you drafted Luca Cagnoni last year with a 4th round pick. You can generate 4th round picks. Like, the Sharks are probably they're at this trade line, they're going to be trading players away and getting, 4th round picks and back. Like, in GM's eyes, like a 4th round pick is basically a AHL, NHL kind of tweener, right? Look at Studnicka, AHL, NHL tweener guy. That is kind of the going price for getting one of those guys, is a 4th round pick. And the chances of you finding an NHL value or a player who you think is going to play NHL games in the 4th round, not super great. And as much as we love Luca Cagnoni, and I think Luca Cagnoni is going to be awesome, look at it, how many guys have the Sharks picked in the 4th round and turned into nothing? Like, it's just what happens, we get myself included, very much get caught up in like, the draft picks and our prospects, et cetera, et cetera. But like, 4th round picks are in the GM's eye, that's just the cost of doing business to get a guy who is an NHL player. And he's an NHL player, a young NHL player, which has some runway to maybe get better. But like, the Sharks also drafted Mason Beaupit in the 4th round. Cool. He's out of the organization already, like in 2022. 2021, they drafted Galen Rock and Ethan Cardwell. There's some hope there with those guys. 2020, they drafted Brandon Coe. Like, Coe hasn't been able to crack the NHL yet. 2019, Igor Spiridonov, gone. Like, 4th round picks are, maybe they turn in, Jasper Weatherby played some NHL games, but looks like he's going to be an AHL type of guy, kind of a tweener AHL guy. Scott Reedy, not with the organization, kind of the same thing. Played a couple NHL games, probably an AHL type of guy. Noah Gregor, your classic tweener, right? Who's kind of made a little, career out of himself there in 2016. Adam Hilwaka in 2000, it's a lot of who knows what. And you're getting an NHL, a guy who you think is going to be an NHL player. So going forward. And so I like the move. I think especially for you're trying to add some competition, and maybe this leads to Luke Kunin getting traded for something. Maybe that, and with Dellandrea and Goodrow kind of taking over the Luke Kunin role. So we'll talk about some other news and notes around the Sharks, including Cam Atkinson, who the Sharks are apparently kicking the tires on, but Atkinson is saying no thanks. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Hey, Locked On Sharks fans, I want to take a moment to bring up one of our partners, the mobile game Ultimate Hockey GM. Ever dreamed of being an NHL manager and managing your hockey franchise? You could think you can run the Sharks team better than Mike Greer. Well, your dream can come true, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your game, play through the seasons, and lead to glory. Hire the right coaches and staff, trade picks and players, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Sharks fan, you know there's no off-season, and GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team chances. That's why I think you're going to love the game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free and playable offline, so you can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And Locked On NHL listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, visit hockeygm.app or app, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate Hockey GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, let's finish up with some other news and notes. Of course, the Sharks have also been trying to add more players, veteran players, and one of those is Cam Atkinson of the Philadelphia Flyers. We did an Atkinson show, actually the same time we did a Barkley Goodrow show a couple weeks ago about would the Sharks be willing to kind of take on his contract for a Flyers team who is very close to the cap. Atkinson has apparently said no thanks. So he does have a 10-team no trade list. He is 35, just turned 35, missed all of the 2022-23 season. Did come back last year, scored 28 points in 70 games, and has 1 year left on his deal at $5.875 million, originally signed by the Blue Jackets, of course, part of a trade to the Flyers. And now the Flyers, I think, are trying to open up some cap space by trading him. But these are the types of moves you should be looking to get because Atkinson, who, yes, he's 35, but still provides some skill level to a team. And, I know he's coming off a major injury, but, former 40-goal scorer way back in the day, 18-19, still is going to pot you 15 to 20 goals and pop some assists here. And there, and I think he is a kind of still a skilled player who could help out a team that needs more skilled players around it. But Atkinson apparently has said he does not want to go to San Jose, which I can totally understand, right? You're 35, you want to try to maybe latch onto a team that is trying to win something. Of course, the Sharks are nowhere near in the they're going to win anything mode right now. So I'm curious to see kind of where the Sharks continue to, try to add pieces here. So we can kind of, I assume, scratch him off the list. Other names to be kind of keep an eye on here as we're getting, I think it's basically kind of the frenzy's about ready to hit now as we start. I think we saw kind of the first wave of it today. Some guys that the Sharks are potentially interested in. Arthur Kaliev, right winger from the LA Kings. This is all from the fourthperiod.com, his summer trade watch. Keliev or the Kings made a massive move today, getting rid of Pierre-Luc Dubois, which is like the most hilarious thing ever. But go check out LA Locked On Kings, which I assume Locked On Kings are really excited. I assume the Locked On Jets podcast is just 30 minutes of them laughing at this whole situation. But apparently that the Sharks are also linked though to Arthur Keliev, kind of another bigger guy, younger guy who I think could use some more ice time, and maybe not getting that. Ferraro is still out there. He is available, but the Sharks are going to be looking to get a really nice piece back. And they should be looking to get a really nice piece back for Mario Ferraro, especially because of his cap price, right? You're paying less money than you are for Barkley Goodrow. So I'm curious to see if they end up moving him, especially with their want to try to add a puck moving defenseman, maybe help open up the logjam here and still getting a nice piece back for Mario Ferraro. I don't expect him to be traded, but you never know. So those are just kind of a couple things to keep an eye on here as these Sharks are kind of getting ready for free agency here, which is right after the draft. So, but yeah, those, I think, moves like trying to take advantage of other teams kind of where they're having issues, whether it's just they have too many players or they can't afford to keep guys. Mike Grier should be looking to try to take advantage of those situations to see if you can add more talent to the roster. And if you can move Mario Ferraro, again, another leader type of guy on this team. But I don't just give up Mario Ferraro for a bag of peanuts. Like I think for Ferraro, you're either looking for an NHL type of deal, or maybe you're getting a little bit younger forward for a team that is looking to help his defense. That type of move makes sense, or looking to get some sort of asset that could be part of the Sharks core here coming up soon. But yeah, so interesting day. I'm curious to see what this Goodrow trade, the Goodrow claim, and the Ty Dellandrea trade kind of bring next as the Sharks continue to try to kind of piece together this offseason, especially with the expectation that Will Smith, who will be here, and Macklin Celebrini, who we expect to be here next season, kind of do. So just let you know where the Sharks are at right now. 15 of 23 for their roster size. No more retention slots, of course. Cap right now is at $55.27 million. So they have $32.9 million in cap space. Need to spend about $10 million to get to the cap floor here. So I still want them to go get a top 6 forward in free agency. And again, if you have to overpay, I would rather overpay for skill, like legitimate skill, than overpay for bottom line skill. And yes, you're going to overpay in free agency, whether it's term or whether it's actual just dollars. You're going to overpay in free agency. I would rather do that, but if they're going to help players like Macklin Celebrini or Will Smith, that's my kind of thinking here. And I know the Sharks cap is, right now they have 2-3 players under contract for 26-27, and one of those guys is Will Smith, one's Barkley Goodrow, and one of them is Logan Couture. So this team is going to continue to look and shape differently here as a lot of these contracts are starting to expire. But I would rather be aggressive with the money to go get somebody who's going to help these young players right here and right now, and then you can worry about that later, right? Especially when you start to clear up your buyouts, start to clear up your retention slots, like you can worry about that player at a later date, and especially as the cap continues to grow. So that's going to be it for me today. I know we were supposed to talk about the prospect list. We'll probably do 6 episodes this week. So keep an eye out for that. Our good friend Will Scout is scheduled to be here for tomorrow's episode. So that'll be the last of our draft profiles as we head into draft week, guys. We're almost there. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.